Okay, we're taking those polynomials. Do you remember we had three specific types of polynomials? Yep. Yeah, we had monomials, binomials, and trinomials. And then if there's more than three terms, we can say, well, they're just polynomials. Okay, no specific names. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to multiply these polynomials together. Right? And it's nothing you haven't had, it's just a different method. For example, just look at this first problem here. What property do you think you're going to use to multiply these together? Distributive, right? We know the distributive property. So let's multiply x times 7x squared, and what are we going to get? What are we going to get? 7x cubed. Okay. All right. And then let's continue to distribute now. And the reason why, what do we do with the exponents? We add them, right? And so I have 1 plus 2, that's where we get the x to the third. And then I have x times 5x. And that will give me 5x, not cubed, squared. Because what I'm doing here is I'm not adding the two together, I'm multiplying. X times 5x, or, that's a 1x, we know that. 1 times 5 is 5, and then you got x times x is x squared. And now we have x times negative 3, and that'll just give me simply negative 3x, and I'm done.
Is the problem done?
Can you do anything else? No. All right. And that's using distributive property. So here's multiplying by using this distributive property. Okay? Let's take another one. It doesn't really matter how long or how involved these problems are. It's relatively simple. Okay? If I multiply 6x times 2x cubed, well, 6 times 2 is 12. X to the 4th times x to the 3rd is x to the 7th, adding the exponents. And so I have 12x to the 7th. You look puzzled, Sid.
I got it. I was just confused for why. I thought you were trying to, and then I forgot you had to add the exponents.
Okay. And so what would the next one then be, Sid?
18 to the 6.
Well, it would be 18 x to the 6th, correct. All right. Now we have minus 6 times 2, I'd have 12 x to the 5th, adding the exponents. And 6x to the 4th times 5 is 30x to the 4th. 4th. There's no x there.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Okay. Do you have any questions on that?
That's easy.
You want to do another one?
Yeah.
Well, we better. We've just scratched the surface on this. Pardon?
Do the super hard one. What do you do now?
This is like
Yeah,
Which one? The ones that are hard? Well, give me an example. Look in the book and give me an example of one that you think might be hard like this. Because I'd be happy to answer any questions that you think. Yes. Zach, I'm sorry. Zach.
Wait, what do you do now?
That's all you do.
will there be anywhere you have light exponents?
Do you have any more? Yes. Okay, if they were not in, all right. If they were not in order, then what we would do is we would put it in descending order, because that's called standard form.
in order after you multiply?
After you multiply everything out.
And if you multiply and you have like exponents, you add them together afterwards.
Correct. If you have like exponents, yes. Did you find one?
Well, I don't know, I mean, you already did, the ones in here multiplying are just like that.
Correct.
And there's also use a vertical or horizontal format to find a
Yeah,
product.
yeah, yeah. We haven't got there yet.
Oh,
All right. Okay. And I think that part of it's going to be fairly simple for you. I really do. All right. And that's using distributive property. All right. Now, and Carly brought up a good point here. In the book, they show use the vertical way to do this. Use the horizontal. In math, in algebra, using vertical method to multiply is not very effective. If you like it, I'm going to let you read the book on your own and do it that way. All right, but I'll show you the way that's going to benefit you as you go through your high school. Yeah.
I'll say not effective.
Pardon?
I'll say not effective.
Yeah. Because I think it, not that it's not effective. It's effective. It works. But this is going to be more useful. It's going to be faster. It's going to be simpler. And you're going to find that, remember I said this is the most important chapter that we do? For as long as you're going to do math, you're going to have to do this kind of stuff. And it's not very hard once you learn it. Okay? Let's go through this. And now I've got a binomial and a binomial. I want to multiply them together. Okay? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the x. I'm going to use distributive property. I'm going to multiply the x times the 3x and the x times the 2. Simple enough? X times 3x is 3x squared. All right? And it's just like the other thing we did, where we're distributing. And then x times 2, 2x. So I distributed the x. Now I'm going to distribute the negative 4. And negative 4 times 3x is negative 12x. And negative 4 times 2 is negative 8. And this is going to answer one of the questions that I think Zach asked me, maybe Carly. Right. Now, can we go further with this? Yes, we can. Because we have two terms that are alike, don't we? And very often, those middle terms combine because they're alike. And what is 2x minus 12x? Negative 10x. So the result now is going to be 3x squared minus 10x minus 8. Okay? By the way, yes,
is that called foiling?
we're getting there. Okay? All right. So do we understand this? Yeah, I mean, we're just distributing. And I know whenever we do something that's different, whenever there's something we haven't done before, it's something new, we tend to stress out a little bit. But this isn't all that hard. Okay. Now there's a method to this. And the method that we use, that's used commonly in algebra, is called the FOIL method. And that stands for something. It's called the FOIL method. Right? Now, if you look at the process that we did, I multiplied x times 3x. And what I did is I multiplied the first term here with the first term here, didn't I? And that's what the F stands for. First. Multiply the first terms together, x times 3x. Then what I did is I multiplied the x times 2. And if you look at this problem, it's the two terms on the outside. That's what the O stands for. The two outside terms together. And then the I, what I did next was I multiplied negative 4 times the 3x. That's the two inside terms, isn't it? And finally, the last thing I did was negative 4 times 2, and that's the last term in here and the last term here, and that's what the L stands for. So FOIL stands for first, outside, inside, and last. Okay? Now, what I wanted to do today, as I give you some examples and as we get through this, I'm going to put some problems on the board. And I want to give everybody a chance to come up to the board and write on the smart board and do some of the problems. We'll do that in just a minute, once I get through the lesson. Okay, well, let's take the next problem. A plus 2 times 2a plus 1. We could use the FOIL method, which is the same as the distributive property. The first two terms together, a times 2a is 2a squared. And then the outside terms, a times 1 is a. 2 times 2a, 4a. And the last terms, 2 times 1, 2. Now, using the FOIL method. Very often, when you're multiplying binomials together, not always, but very often, the two middle terms are the same, and we can combine them. And a plus 4a is 5a. Okay? And let's look at the next one. And the only thing that makes the next one a little bit different is that we have two negatives. Okay? So using the FOIL now, 4x times x. How about the outside terms? Negative 8x. The inside terms, negative 5x. And then the two last terms is positive 10. Those two terms are alike. Let's combine them. And we get 4x squared minus 13x plus 10. All right, that's using the FOIL method. Luke, do you have a question?
No, I get it.
Okay.
I hope so.
Do you have any questions?
Sorry.
Are there any questions? Okay. All right, let's check this out. It's no big deal. I'm multiplying a trinomial times a binomial.
That's 6B or 3B?
That is 6b. Yeah. Okay. And it's nothing we haven't done up to this point. because all we're going to do is distribute. So let's walk you through this. B squared times 3b would give me what?
4B.
Not 4b squared, 3b squared. Because that's 1b times 3b. 1 times 3 is 3, okay? Actually, I'm sorry, that's 3b cubed. Okay? And then I have b squared times negative 4 would give me negative 4b squared. I can't distribute that b squared anymore, can I? No. So let's distribute the 6b. 6b times 3b, 18 b squared. And then 6b times negative 4, negative 24b. All right, so I've distributed the b squared. I've distributed the 6b. Now let's distribute the negative 7. Negative 7 times 3b, negative 21b. And finally, negative 7 times negative 4 is a positive 28. All right, and we have some terms here now that I can combine because they're alike. I can combine these two together. So let's rewrite now. 3b cubed. What's negative 4b squared plus 18b squared? 14b squared. Now I have negative 24b and a negative 21b. Negative 45b. And finally at the end, 28. Okay? So what I did with this last example is I sort of switched it around. Instead of multiplying a trinomial times a binomial, now I'm multiplying a binomial times a trinomial. And you think the method's going to be the same? Yes.
You just do it to all three of them?
Yes, exactly.
Can you switch it around, or would that?
No, you can switch it around if you want. 4x times 2x squared gives me an 8x cubed. 4x times a positive 5x gives me 20x squared. And then 4x times negative 1, negative 4x. All right, now we'll distribute the negative 3. Negative 3 times 2x squared is negative 6x squared. Negative 3 times 5x is negative 15x. And negative 3 times negative 1, positive 3. I draw those lines up there to show you, but some students do that as they're showing their work. Now let's combine all the terms that are alike. Well, I've only got one term that's an x cubed term, so I'll simply write that down. Now I have a 20x squared. I've already taken care of the 8x cubed. So I have 20x squared minus 6x squared, 14x squared. Next I have negative 4x and negative 15x, negative 19x, very good. And finally at the end, we'll put our constant, which is plus 3. All right? is a very important lesson. Your homework is going to be. And like I promised, once I'm done with the writing this, I'm going to have some of you guys come up if you like. On page 565 and 566. Through 46 even. We'll do those today. Don't move your desks. 4 through 46 evens. And that's what I'm going to have you do today. Okay? All right.